What am I doing in this jungle? Today is the 28th of June and I know that it's a hot day, and because it's been so hot I've been growing some of my trees, my bonsai, in the shade of other trees. So these 4 trident maples are all growing in the shade. So they're all quite healthy and of course they are being trained. So these tridents are a long-term experiment. I sometimes keep pruning it, but apart from just doing the general pruning, we also do other radical things. So I'm going to show you 2 very unusual tridents that we've been growing in large containers. So see the size of our tridents. If you think this is big, wait till I show you the other 2. So let's look at the size of that trunk there. It is insane. Look at that. These have been growing here since 1993, and it is the batch of the 50 trident maples I purchased from Japan in that year, and they have been growing successively in the ground and in pots. So this was grown in the ground. No, initially they were in pots, and as soon as they came from Japan I planted them in the ground at Herons, and they have thickened. But from time to time we take them out of the ground and put them in pots. So these trees have been in these pots, certainly these 2, I've got others as well, have been in pots for the last, I would say, 5 years. And look at the shoots here, absolutely gone berserk. So you must be wondering why I let these shoots grow long like this. Even this one, look at all these shoots. You can either air layer it or make all sorts of thick cuttings from it, but the purpose of growing them long is to feed the tree to give the trunk thickness. So when people say how to thicken bonsai, there is no shortcut. It is a question of time. Growing it in the ground, letting everything grow, and then cutting it back. But at some point you will have to, what we call, bite the bullet. I can't let these branches grow like this forever. So now that it's had a chance to feed the tree, I'm going to take some of these off. Pity I don't have the room to make thick cuttings, but I believe thick cuttings are possible. So all these long shoots, this has all grown, you won't believe, in this year. Since the end of March it has grown that long,
6
2
foot.
meter tall. And they've been grown just to feed back into the trunk to make the trunk thick. So I will cut some of these long shoots off, and I'm going to concentrate on making sure that they create a pad. Also, if you let it go too long, sometimes you can create inverse taper. So I've got to watch this. There are quite a lot of things to watch, you see. So those are the long shoots I have to cut off. And should I want to make the tree more refined, I can cut it hard back. Pity the background is a bit cluttered, but I grow these in the shade of the tree, and because they're so big, the trees, I can hardly move them. They have to be moved with a machine, with a bulldozer digger. Look at the nebari on this. Come and have a look at that. See? How to create taper, how to create nebari. All I can say that it takes a long time. So I could easily restore this to its intended design, but now that it's done its work, you see this thick branch here, all these thick branches is to improve the taper there. But if it gets too thick, I will have to cut it off with a silky saw. But let me cut the thinner branches first, and then I will bring the silky saw. As I say, bonsai is not a 7-day wonder. It does take time. This is where the patience really comes in. Although you may get the impression I'd make everything look easy and you can make a bonsai in 3 minutes or 10 minutes, it is not really like that. There are long-term projects that you need to consider too. I know that tridents are not often wired, but I may even have to do the odd bit of wiring. So some of these thick branches, I'm going to get a silky saw to remove them. So many people wonder why I keep all these long branches. So there is method in my madness. So let me show you the choice I am now faced with. You can see that this makes a beautiful front because there is lovely movement here. These branches which are clouding the front I can easily deal with by taking it back, but that's not a big deal. I can deal with it later on. So that is going well. That is going well. So over here you can see, if I wanted to make the tree shorter, I could cut everything off there and make this the leader. This can come this way and this way. But if you look closely, there are other branches or other potential taper there as well. So this is also a potential leader.
Yeah.
But there's also another potential leader there, which is quite alive and kicking. But I think this one coming back may be a better leader there. If you look from the top, you can see the choice. See, I've got the choice of this one. So I'm going to now take this off, and so that I can show you more clearly. I'm going to cut it stage by stage so that you can see what I'm doing. Look at these long branches, 6 foot long, 6 foot long, 2 years growth. So you can see the choice I have here. I have here that is the leader going that way, which doesn't look very good. So the obvious choice is really using this as the new leader. So this is how we create taper, and then this can come off, because if I leave this for too long, I will get inverse taper. So I'm going to cut this very carefully. So let me, hold on Josh, I'm just going to show you, I'm taking off one thick branch which is spoiling the taper. So that one is almost cut, so we're going to take that off. So hold it and let me show you the cut. Hold the branch. So that's what we've taken off, that much.
What cutting that would be.
And yeah, you can try taking the cutting.
Yeah,
okay, so that is where the new taper is growing, and this is the taper growing up there. So we're going to take that one at the back. But I think we can also ride 2 horses in midstream, as it were, rather than, because if I cut too close there, I may get this to die. So if we cut it there, this can still grow, and then do it in stages. So cut it there.
Yeah.
So we're not doing a drastic cut. We're keeping our options open should something go wrong. Okay. So now this long branch I'm going to leave. That long branch is going to grow to pull the sap up all the way to the top. That's about 8-10 foot high. Okay, when I've cleaned the tree up, I will show you a little more. So this is another monster I've got here, and this monster, if you look at the base, it will make you salivate. So look at that. How big is that Nibari there? And this is all since 1993, when this was imported as a bare root stump. All these branches have been grown since then, and all these branches I grew since then. So, and this has helped to thicken it. Some of them have died. I'll have to cut that off and grow new branches there. So we're going to tidy some of these things up. If you let too many branches grow in the wrong place, all the energies go to the wrong direction, and you will have wasted all the energies. So this branch is nice. It can go outwards like that. I'll keep that. This is okay. I don't think I need that as a leader. I can take that off. Over here, I can take that off. Now I'm getting into a rather strange territory, because looking at this tree, we've got many choices, multiple choices, like multiple choice in an exam. I've got a multiple choice in real life situation. So, the base is lovely. This branch I'm not sure about, but I'll keep it for now. And the beauty and the strength of the tree is here. I could make this the leader, I could make that the leader. So I'll probably let that grow. Many of these little branches are dead. I may have to cut them off, so I'll get that little mini chainsaw and cut that. So we are going to do it in stages. I don't want to rush anything. I hope the images are coming okay, because I'm taking a lot of these pictures in sun and shade. There's a vertical shoot going up, so I'm going to take that off and then refine it with the loppers. Look at that, that's a 6 foot long branch. And there's another long one there at the top there. That we can take off, it's doing nothing. That's not a leader, it's really a branch. In fact, that branch can be shortened. Josh, take it back about 4 inches. A little further back than that, a little further back. Yeah, over there, and we'll grow new branches. Okay, then that vertical branch we don't need. No, that's dead. Okay. There's a vertical, then a V shape, that catapult. Where does that come from?
Down here.
Maybe let a new shoot grow horizontally, so we take that off. Now the rest we are going to keep in case there are possible leaders. But this is, I think, is possibly too low, don't you think? Maybe we cut this back here to force the energy to go higher up.
There?
Yeah. Okay, so you can see how the tree is shaping up. That's how it's shaping up, and now we're going to take the top off because it's dead. There's some dead branches. So the moment of truth is creating the new taper. So we've got a choice of these new shoots. The top of this has died. Sometimes, as I say, you can't win them all. You get casualties where the top dies. So the top 6 inches is dead. So we're going to cut back, leave a stub of about, say, half an inch or 1 inch for it to die further back. I don't cut it flush to the new growth in case that causes the new growth to die. So Josh prefers to use the silky saw. We could have easily used the chainsaw, but the silky gives a finer cut. Now, because that's a bit of dead wood, I don't need to seal that. I also want that to rot. So I've got that possibility for a new leader. We can seal it if you wish. Seal the fresh cuts, yeah. All these fresh cuts we'll seal. But where we want it to rot, we won't seal it. Anything big like over a 1/4 inch, I will seal. There's one behind there. And then there's some here at the back. So you see I brought the structure back to this tree. See the root compared to this felco. This, I would say, is a 2 foot long nibari. 2 foot, which is about 60 centimeter. This pot is 3 foot, 36 inches wide pot. So this is the size of the tridents I like. So that's a thick one, this is a thick one. So that fresh cut we're going to seal. And we've got a choice of leaders coming here in the front. That one we're going to seal. And that wide 1 or 1.5 inch cut. Really be generous with the lac balsam. So the reason for sealing it is so that it doesn't dry out. That's got a beautiful nibari. So nibari grows or develops if you keep it constricted in a pot. If you grow it in the ground, a lot of the roots tend to go straight downwards into the ground rather than spread outwards. So if you grow it in a pot, it encourages the roots to spread. So those are the 2 tridents I've structured. And look at that long, long new, that's how we're creating the new leader. Another 8 foot of leader into the sky. That's how we're creating the new leader. And to show the amount we've pruned, summer pruning, that is the amount of shoots we pruned. They're all like 6 to 8 foot long shoots. So that is a trident restored. While we're talking of tridents, I'll take you to other areas where we've got tridents just to show you what they look like. So come and have a look at this one. This is a tree that has been growing in the ground. Again, this nibari is even bigger. Look at that monster. I think it's twice the size of my bum. Look at that. And these are all the new branches which are being grown, new taper being grown. So all the last 32 years has been spent in creating the trunk taper and the nebari. So these new branches can be wired in position. I cut everything off and that's how it's been grown. So these are not what we call commercial trees. These are experiments that we keep working on. So there's another maple I will show you, not a Trident maple. Again, we grow these in the ground to thicken the trunk, and look at that one. So this has to be pruned back, and soon it will become good again. Now let me show you the other Trident I've got over here in the jungle. Let's go through the jungle. When people come to the nursery, they don't realize what there is. This may seem to be a rather innocuous bush, but believe you me, it's got a massive base. Now this third maple, I will remove the debris and show you what lies underneath. I think I've shown this before. So maybe if you go from that side, again, the vertical shoots we don't want. As I've always reminded you, if you leave trees to their own devices, their branches tend to grow vertically. But in bonsai, we need the branches to go horizontally. But again, the reason for leaving them unpruned is to feed into the tree. So much is said or written about making taper and growing thick trunks. There is no substitute to being patient and growing in the ground, letting the branches feed the tree, and then when it's done its work, we then cut it back to refine the tree. As we say, it's a labor of love. 30, 40 years is nothing for a bonsai. Okay, you must be wondering why I'm pruning these. By pruning these, I'm going to direct the energies in the right direction. I see there's another sacrificial branch here. If you come this side, you can see this thick branch coming up from here. That's a sacrificial. That is to help thicken the base. So sacrificials, this is a practical example of how sacrificial branches are used and made. I don't like to cut too much of the foliage of the sacrificial, because with the foliage it generates food and energy which goes back into the trunk, and that is how the trunks are made and thickened. And if I don't want the leader to get lost or spoiled, I will then deal with the leader at some stage. So that's an upward going branch. Maybe in the winter when the Trident has lost its leaves, I will return to this again and show you the progress of these trees. So you can see the base. I'm just clearing some of the debris to show you what is hiding underneath here. It's almost like a gold mine. I often ask myself, why do I enjoy bonsai so much? It is really the pleasure of seeing the results of experiments that you do. I'm forever trying to do new things, and all these experiments, when they work, it gives you immense satisfaction. But if they don't work, you learn from your mistakes. So it's a win-win situation. You never lose. If it is successful, you win double. But if you lose or make mistakes, you learn so much from your mistakes. So these at the bottom are sacrificials to thicken the trunk. And you will see over here, if you home in on this, Josh, please. You see the branch here. That is dead. I want to make that hollow. So I've nibbled away with the chainsaw to make that completely dead. So when that hollows out, we can then carve onto it. So that is how this tree is being grown. So it's got a different style, and I've got the choice of 2 leaders. The choice of the 2 leaders is so that I can decide which one to take up. But again, I will show you that in the winter, when the tree has lost its leaves, I can then get a better idea as to which would make the better leader. So again, I'm not in a rush. So all these things are what we call long-term projects. And while we're talking of tridents, I have a lot of large tridents in various stages of being experimented with. So I will take you to that area. So this is another of those 50 tridents that I imported in 1993. This has been trained in the pot for most of its time, although it did go in the ground at some stage. I want to show you something special about this trident because it has a lot of what we call these holes, or uro, as they call it in Japanese. There are quite a few of these hollows, and they're completely natural. So when you cut a thick branch off, and if you don't seal it, there's another one here, they make these beautiful hollows, and they can go right through the trunk. So you can see the result of this taper. The tree originally was only half this height, but I've added and added. So the taper has all been created at Herons over the last 32 years. I will show you another instance where the front branch died, but the tree struggles on. So you don't often get a tree with shari like this, a trident. You see the rest of it is completely healthy, and all this front is completely dead. And we got some more tridents here, and we grow them in these large pots to make them large. So all these tapers have been created over many, many years. They're still creating a taper there. I can cut it off to there, but I'm growing that to thicken that taper. So what I should do is cut these vertical branches off to generate side shoots. I can choose the branches I want, but where I want the taper to grow, I let this grow unchecked. And there's one final interesting project that I've been doing for more than 30 years, and it's an attempt at a root over rock that I tried to do myself. I did some in-arch grafting because the nibari on this tree was not very good. This was a separate trident maple I planted at the side. It was a seedling I put about maybe 20 years ago, and then it was welded onto that. This branch also was an in-arch graft from the upper part of the tree. And this tree is defective because it's got what we call a pigeon breast. You see it swells there, so it spoils the taper. So I was trying to improve the nibari there. Worst come to worst, I'll have to use the chainsaw to cut that off and make that into a hollow. So there are some uros growing there. And it was initially growing on a rock, but it didn't work. But it's just a nice thick trunk tree. So these are all our long-term projects. You can see how the development of the trident is progressing, and it's doing quite well. And this I can make into a low branch or sacrificial growing this way. So these are all very, very long-term projects. So if you're seriously interested to bonsai, the long-term projects are very satisfying because you see results not immediately, but in years to come. So I hope you enjoyed this video about growing thick trunk trees.